Okay, just pretend there was like an amazing intro before this. TBD. Okay, I'm Lauren.
I'm Joey.
Here's the reason why we're doing this podcast. Joey knows everything about movies, and I do not, especially scary movies. I'm a huge baby. I need Joey to explain the backstory behind every scary movie before I'm convinced that it would be fun for me to see, because I don't think it would be fun if I am scared.
It's not even that if it's fun, just like worth seeing.
Right. There needs to be like a reason for me to see it. Otherwise, right. I don't want to go sit there and be scared out of my pants.
And not enjoy the movie like for its like little subtleties.
Totally.
Or like artistry or whatever.
I'm like into it because of the artistry, and I'm obviously into it because you're into it, and I want to know everything about why it's interesting and why you think it's cool. But if I'm distracted by being too scared, I'm not going to enjoy it. So that's why I need to know every single piece of it ahead of time. Also, super control freak. I need to know every single thing that's about to happen so I can prepare myself. Maybe we should tell the story about how I made you explain everything to me.
Before we saw Hereditary?
Yeah, before we saw Hereditary, I had been hearing a lot about it, so I read a ton about it, and then we went to this party, and we happened to talk to this guy who had already seen it, and he mentioned one like little moment in the movie, but him mentioning it scared the pants off of me. We'll edit that piece out. Scared the bejesus out of me. I got so scared that when it was time to go to bed, I made my sweet boyfriend stay up all night with me and explain the process of making a scary movie and how things were made, because that made me less scared. But also, I did have to sleep with the lights on. We did see the movie later. Joey obviously guessed every single thing that was going to happen in the movie before it happened. And I spent like half the movie with my head in his armpit, just telling him how scared I was.
And having to, it was like watching a movie with a blind person, because I was describing.
Emotionally blind. That's the reason why we're doing this podcast, because Joey is trying to convince me now to see a lot of scary movies that he thinks are cool. I'm not convinced.
But, and it's not, we're not here to like necessarily review the movie. Not to say like we recommend that anybody else watch it. It's more of like, if you are afraid of scary movies, but want to learn why you're afraid or why they make you scared, like why they, you know, like in The Exorcist where they added like subliminal messages, or they added stuff to the soundtrack to like increase your heart rate and things like that, you know. Like,
I also want the cultural capital of like knowing the movie without actually having to go through
you're like,
being scared.
Oh yeah, The Exorcist in that one scene 2A.
I'm like, oh yeah, don't you know that seminal scene that's constantly referenced in pop culture?
You just want to be a real jerk.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
I took notes when I rewatched the movie, so that I would remember absolutely everything that I want to talk about and tell you
nerd.
About. My studies. Going to Wikipedia would have ruined the major elements of the story, but it wouldn't have ruined like the little moments that I'm going to tell you about that really sort of impact how frightening the movie is to other people. Because I guess the caveat with all of this is that there's only 2 movies that I've ever been scared of. One was The Omen, the original Omen. And the other one is The Descent. There's things about scary movies that interest me beyond them being scary. There's like just a lot of, you know, like little elements, colors, the way things are shot, music, all that kind of stuff that I find much more interesting than the being scared.
And actually the thing that I like about scary movies, even though I say that I don't like scary movies, is it's sometimes revealing about human nature. I find that very interesting about scary movies.
Right. It's like the scary thing is always a metaphor for some real thing that, you know, whether it's like societal or specifically the director had like a fear of something. Right.
Well, I find that very interesting and worthy of my consideration.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're keeping an open mind. The movie that we're going to talk about today is from 1977.
You love a 70s horror film.
Oh, yes. As we go through this, you know, the consecutive weeks and movies, you'll find that a lot of movies, horror movies from the 70s, are just perfect in just the time capsule of the politics and the atmosphere of the 70s. Mm-hmm. Directed by Dario Argento, and he is a famous Italian director who is he helped popularize this this genre subgenre called giallo, which means yellow in Italian. And the giallo was these kind of pulpy yellow covered novels that usually dealt with like murder or like hardcore police investigation and like grisly murders and slasher stuff. Like there's some sort of supernatural element. So the movie we're going to talk about is called Suspiria.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of this, but I have no idea what it is.
Okay, good. Now, the reason I picked it is because they actually remade it.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure that's why I've heard about it.
Suspiria is the first part of what Dario Argento calls his Three Mothers trilogy.
Is he super old?
Yes, he came up in kind of the same school of horror that George A. Romero did, who did Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
And they actually collaborated. Dario Argento did the music for Dawn of the Dead with this Italian prog rock band called Goblin, who also did the music for Suspiria.
That sounds right up your alley.
Yep.
Is this guy related to Asia Argento?
Yes, this is her dad.
Oh.
Yeah. So the movie, like a lot of Italian movies at the time, and for like maybe 2 decades prior to that, the movies were all recorded without sound. So what they would do is they would hire actors on the cheap who spoke any language. It didn't matter. And this was like in movies like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, like those spaghetti westerns. Mm-hmm. Like Clint Eastwood spoke English on set, but he would be talking to a guy who only spoke Spanish. And they would dub in all of the voices after the movie was done. Suspiria, just like that, is exactly the same way. So it's very jarring when you watch the movie because the audio is so clear for their voice, and it's so like brought to the forefront against the music and the sound effects that it's just like you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Because it's just kind of doesn't match exactly the mouth at all times, and creepy. You can see that it actually gives it a little bit of a creepy effect. The use of colors and all that stuff is very like Alice in Wonderland, and the main character is kind of a Snow White-ish type character.
Okay.
It exists sort of in the real world. You're like, okay, I can see that these people are real, but this world, I don't know what this world is because it's not real life. So are you ready to talk about this movie?
I'm ready to ask you a million questions about this movie when you tell me about it.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by playing the theme song to the movie, which was, again, written by Goblin, which is an Italian progressive rock band.
All right, I'm scared already.
Right away from the beginning of the movie. Here you go, can you hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Little bells.
I mean, fairy tales just in general are creepy, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, like the original versions, like the sanitary Disney versions that we grew up on are not the same.
Yeah. Great.
So,
nothing I love more than someone hissing in my ear.
The movie starts off right away with the credits, but it has this weird voiceover exposition that fades out like in a really unnatural way. So he's like talking blah blah blah, and it fades out like there was more, but they didn't want to include that. And in the original version, in the Italian version rather, it's Dario Argento, the director, who provides the voiceover. But for the English version, it's somebody else. But it's very awkward, and I'll play it for you now. This starts out the movie like 10 seconds into the movie. You already hear this.
Susie Banyan decided to perfect her ballet studies in the most famous school of dance in Europe. She chose the celebrated Academy of Fribourg. One day at 9 in the morning, she left Kennedy Airport, New York, and arrived in Germany at 10:40 p.m. local time.
See how it starts to fade out? That's not something that I did. That's literally how it starts. It just starts to fade out.
Okay.
So I don't know if they thought that audiences would not understand the beginning of the movie, because it literally starts out with the character who's Susie Banyan walking out of the airport, and she's already arrived in Germany.
Uh-huh. But it's 10 p.m. at night.
Yes, it's night, and it's raining like the worst storm ever. It's like huge thick droplets. It's like spilling off the airport awning, mm-hmm. and like forming like these big puddles.
Okay.
So she's there. She's in Freiburg, Germany, mm-hmm. and she is there to go to the Tanz Dance Academy. Okay, so she wants to be a ballet dancer, and this is like the most famous.
I like how this music is now getting real space age.
Yeah. Well, they actually recorded the music before the movie started filming.
Okay.
So if you listen to the entire soundtrack, it's very like improvisational. Like you can just tell that they were kind of playing around, and the director would play the music on set while they were doing the scene to get them in the mood. He would blast it like in these huge subwoofers.
Sounds very pleasant.
Yeah. He was like, we will listen to this. You can hear that the music's sort of taken a very prog rock 70s turn to
Yeah,
it.
I can see why you would like this.
Yeah, she's exiting the airport when she first gets out, and you kind of see, it doesn't really come back later, but you see this woman in red leaving the airport, and it's like these sliding doors, and it's like in front of her, and it keeps cutting between the main character and this like woman in red who's just like walking, and she sort of disappears, sort of like preparing you for the colors of the movie. The movie is very red and green with a lot of, but like primary red and primary green, like very like a
Very saturated.
yeah, to the point where it's like the only color on screen other than
Okay.
black.
Okay.
And there's like a very interesting cut when the main character walks through the doors of the airport. It cuts to like the top where the little sensor is on the sliding door, and it kind of goes like very like almost like guillotine like.
Okay.
And it's this weird thing, I don't know if it's intentional, but her scarf sort of flies up around her neck. Almost, it looks like strangling fingers. It's like a very creepy kind of thing because the air from the
Whoa.
door, and
Yeah.
I don't know if that's intentional,
I'm
but
sure
like
it is. You noticed it. It must have
well,
been.
it was like the first thing I noticed because it's like it cuts to the door, cuts to her. It looks like she's being strangled. The door closes, almost like a guillotine. So it sort of sets you up. You see this mysterious woman in red, this creepy music, the use of this really intense sound effect when the doors are opening and closing. So it kind of sets up the mood already. She hails a cab, and like a bunch of cabs like pass, and they don't stop for her. And this guy finally stops, and she's like, I need help with my bags, but he doesn't get out of the car. And it's kind of like a hint for like later in the movie that the movie is all about these women at this dance academy, and that the men are sort of secondary. Like the man doesn't even get out of the car in the rainstorm to help her get 2 bags into the car. Like he can't even grant her that courtesy.
Cool dude.
Sort of like how all the men in the movie are sort of cold and sort of they're supposed to be subservient to the women in the movie in a way. And we'll talk about one character, Mark, later on, who's like that. But it's just like an interesting way to start out the movie, that the girl has to be like very independent. She has to like work for everything that she has in the character's life and in the movie. She has to work really hard to get like to the end.
Okay.
The cab driver starts to drive, and then they're traveling through these creepy woods, and they go through like a tunnel, and they're descending beneath the street. So like already like movie saying we're descending into some place that you've never been before, sort of thing. There's like these really primary red kind of buildings like around her that she sees. The conservatory itself was a set, but like when they're driving, it's actual shots of Germany.
Okay. And is this Dance Academy a real place, or is it just for the movie?
No, it's just for the movie, but the building that it's based on is an exact copy of another building that was not a dance conservatory.
Okay.
So then all of a sudden they're traveling through these creepy woods to get through to the Dance Academy. It's sort of hinted that the Dance Academy is like in the middle of the woods, and it kind of has like a cobblestone street, and it's like got very blood red facade to it, and it has like these pipes that run to like the gutters for water to come down, and they have like gargoyle heads that like the water spits out.
Of course.
She gets out of the cab, and she's like, hold on a second, I have to make sure like that they're here to receive me. This woman runs out of the building. She's screaming something, but you can't hear what she's saying because it's raining too loud and there's like lightning. And you get 2 words. You get secret and iris.
Ooh.
So already you're setting up sort of secret words, a chant, an incantation. Some you don't know what they mean, but she's very frantic and she has to leave. The frantic character is named Pat. So Pat runs out and closes the door behind her, and Susie, the main character, is like what's going on? And then she pushes the buzzer on the door, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Susie. I'm from America. I'm supposed to be checking in." And then she hears a voice just say, "I don't know. Go away." And it's like very like jarring, because some of the acting isn't that great. So like it's just like they're reading the lines rather than like saying them.
Okay.
So you're like, okay, that's kind of weird. So she gets back in the cab because they're not going to let her into the dance academy. That's all that you see of Susie for like the first like 15 minutes of the movie, because now we're going to follow the character Pat, who frantically ran from the dance academy, is running through the woods now.
Wait, she didn't go back inside?
No. She runs through the woods, and she goes to a friend's apartment. And when she walks into the lobby, it's very, very much a set, but it's these kind of almost like they translated stained glass into colors on a wall. And it's like very red and very green and very white. And it's like these weird tile patterns on the floor. It's almost like an MC Escher kind of thing. It messes like with perspective.
Okay, cool.
In a way. And it's like, you're like, no lobby. This is again like speaking to the kind of fantasy. Dario Argento is saying, this is real, and I'm not presenting this as parody or anything like that. I'm acting like this is a real apartment building. She meets with a friend. She's like, I need to use your bathroom. I want to take a shower. I want to get clean, because she's like covered in, she's wet from the rain.
And the friend's like not asking any questions about
Well,
this? Okay.
so here's the thing, is that she's like, the Pat says that she's going to leave in the morning. It's only going to be one night.
Is Pat American too?
I want to say that she has a British accent, but I think
Okay.
she's supposed to be American as well.
Okay.
They sort of have like this kind of breathy mid-Atlantic accent a little bit.
That's my favorite accent.
I know it is.
That and the New Zealand accent.
She's sort of like, I'll leave in the morning. Kind of like that kind of
Yeah.
the inflection.
I love it.
She says she's going to leave in the morning. She's going to go away forever. She got kicked out of the school, out of the dance school. But she says that it's useless to explain what happened. She doesn't want to talk about it. She goes into the bathroom to like kind of calm down, and her friend's kind of like, okay, we don't have to talk about it. Like, I can see that you're kind of in some distress, so I'll let you like calm down, get cleaned up, and then maybe we can talk about it. So she goes into the bathroom. Immediately, the window in the bathroom blows open.
Okay.
The other woman rushes in, her friend rushes in, because the Pat's like, the window. Her friend is like, what's going on? Why are you so like acting so crazy? Pat's like, I just want to talk about it later. And her friend's like, okay. So it's like all this build up, and her friend's like, all right, fine, I'll just leave you alone. That's fine. You process it, any way that you want.
It's a good friend.
So she leaves her alone in the bathroom. And then we had this perspective of outside the bathroom on the roof of the building, looking in, like zooming in on the bathroom. And she's
super creepy.
Yeah, she's just like looking out, and there's like a clothesline there, and it has like some towels and some clothes, and the wind kind of keeps blowing it into the window.
Okay.
And
is it still raining at this point?
No, actually it's not. It has stopped raining.
And is it nighttime? Yeah.
Yes, it is nighttime.
Okay.
She looks at the window, and she sees like her own reflection cast very clearly. Mm-hmm. But because it's light inside the bathroom, it's like almost pitch black outside.
Right.
So she takes a lantern, like a table lamp from the bathroom, and holds it up to the window because she thinks she sees something.
Oh my God, I'm scared already.
And then they do this thing where it's just like looking at her, looking through the window. You kind of see the clothesline. You can't really see much. And then...
Babe, I'm already so scared.
And it doesn't help that the music is kind of ramping up now.
This is way scarier, like, in my mind, even than probably it is. But, okay.
So then all of a sudden she sees these glowing eyes.
Oh my God!
For like 2 seconds at most. And it's a dual window. It's like 2 panes. And she's looking outside of the right one. And through the left one comes this hand and breaks the glass.
Stop.
Grabs the back of her head and pushes it against the glass so hard that her face is like literally being smushed. Like they really made the actress like contort her face against the glass. Very like realistic. Uh-huh. And she's fighting hard against it, and this hand pushes her face through the glass.
Oh my God.
And the glass just breaks out onto the roof. And meanwhile, the other woman, she's screaming, "Help me, it's a murderer." And she's just banging on all the doors in the apartment complex. And it's just this very bizarre, like it's never set up that she knows that someone's trying to murder her. She just hears like glass breaking and a scream, but she instantly thinks that it's a murderer. So she's like, help me, it's a murder. And she just keeps knocking on the doors. And it's just very, very, very bizarre.
Okay.
Once Pat is through the window, she gets stabbed immediately by this hand with just like a kind of like a butcher knife, not like a cleaver, but just like a sharp knife. And she keeps getting stabbed again and again and again and again and again and again. And it's just like very sickening kind of sounds, like,
ew.
And it's just like very, very gross and just like very graphic as you see the knife like go in and like comes out with like
but
blood.
Is it a real knife, or is it like a supernatural something?
It's a real knife. So the supernatural stuff doesn't come till later-ish.
I mean, what just happened sounds pretty supernatural.
Right, and like I guess it's when the reveal of who is doing the stabbing.
Oh, I can't wait for the reveal. I'm very scared already. Like, I feel very scared right now. That's not a joke. Mucho scared.
The killer grabs this rope that he conveniently has, and he positions Pat on this layer of glass. Now they're like obviously high above they're on the roof. Not necessarily like the tallest part of the roof, but like obviously the bathroom looked out onto this alcove.
Okay.
Now the glass is actually the ceiling of the lobby.
Oh, okay.
And the ceiling is sort of that same stained glass, kind of multicolored to it. So he grabs rope and he puts it around her waist. Then he stabs her again, and he keeps stabbing her so many times that he opens up her chest, and you see him stab her heart, like her actual heart. And he like digs it in, and he pulls it out. But as he's doing that, she's flailing, and she breaks one of the panes of the glass in the ceiling.
Of course.
And as it hits the ground, her frantic friend, who's still screaming, "Help me, it's a murderer," is in the lobby and has to avoid the breaking glass. And she looks up, and she sees like her hand kind of fall through the piece that she knocked out. The roof buckles, and the girl falls through.
But she has the rope around
But she has the rope, and the rope slides up her chest, cinches at her neck, and hangs her.
Right. But she's already mostly...
She's pretty much dead. But it's shot in this very fantastic way because you don't think the rope is attached to anything, but it turns out it's like a rope that actually ran inside to the ceiling of the lobby to like hold something, like it held like a flag or like some sort of banner or something like that. So it has like a physical end that tightens the noose around her neck.
Yeah.
And it's so long that she actually ends up with her feet just like a few feet above the ground, like when she falls. You see the glass break, the roommate or her friend who lives in the apartment look up and scream. She gets hung, and then you see her bloody body, and there's like blood dripping on the floor, and it slowly pans over, and you see that the other girl has been impaled in the face with a piece of glass.
I knew you were going to say that.
And her chest has been impaled with a piece of like iron that was like holding the structure up, and it's in like a triangular form.
I love it.
So that's
I knew you were going to say she got impaled. I was actually going to say she didn't get hit in the face by this glass.
Yeah, they sort of do like she avoids it, like the first kind of crash, and then she gets like
I knew you were going to say
her just
that.
desserts.
A la mode.
We end the night, and it's daytime. Rain has stopped, and everything's dry.
Does anybody find these poor girls?
Yes, they do. The scene begins with this blind guy and his German Shepherd, who's very, very cute, and they're walking.
But in Germany, they just call it a shepherd.
Oh, snap.
Is he a blind shepherd?
No. He's actually, turns out he's the blind piano player for the dance academy. You're like, okay, he's like another sympathetic casualty of what's about to happen.
I'm just saying it's difficult to hear or see a blind person and like not like have all this connotation of like what do blind people normally represent in literature. It's like someone that sees more than other people.
So at the same time that the blind guy is walking in, he ties his dog up outside. Same time he's coming in, Susie comes back, and she meets Madame Tanner, who looks like an earlier version of Miss Trunchbull from Matilda. She dresses like almost the same way.
Very Germanic.
Very Germanic, very conservative. Madame Trunchbull apologizes to Susie for the night before.
Wait, where was she? Where did Susie go?
You don't find out that she went into the city somewhere and found a place to stay. It's never revealed. She apologized for the night before because Susie's like, I tried to get in and somebody was like, I don't know, go away. And Madame Tanner's like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. We're very happy to have you here, that you came all the way from America. Then she meets this character called Madame Blanc, who's the vice director of the school. And they kind of set up that she was a very famous ballerina, but that she just runs the school now. And everybody in the scene sort of dresses in this weird muted gray, but the set is like this velvet blue foyer.
Okay.
With like kind of like these weird black and gray kind of, not crystal, but like, I guess marble, kind of like a marble coloring to like the floor and some of the walls and stuff like that. It's very much Willy Wonka-esque. They get to talking about Susie's past and that her aunt, Carol Banyan, was like a famous dancer. So like you're like, okay, so she had like a bit of nepotism to get in here.
Right.
That she has like a lot to prove. There's already pressure on her to be as good as like her aunt.
Uh-huh.
Madame Blanc also has a nephew whose name is Albert, and he's like a little 10-year-old kid. And I swear to God, he dresses like Augustus Gloop from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I mean, I feel like that's very reasonable that in a 1970s film that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or I guess, what's the name of the movie? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
The original movie is
Well, of
Willy
course,
Wonka.
that's like a touch point.
Right. It's like he's very German, and he has like this gray lederhosen type get up with like a little tie,
Uh-huh.
and he's very blonde, very blue eyes.
Mark of the devil, if you ask me.
Yeah. He was like, oh, I'm gonna make the Omen, and then the Omen came out, and he was like, shit.
Never
shit,
trust a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid.
Yeah.
Never. They're always up to no good.
He always goose steps out of every scene.
Okay.
Madame Tanner pulls Susie aside, and then now we're gonna take like kind of like a tour of, what she expects of the dance academy. There's they don't have room for Susie at the dance academy, so they're like, we know that you
just stay out back.
Yeah, they're like, you're gonna stay in the cab with the German guy in the rain every night.
Oh my god.
And he's like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
So they don't have a room for her, but they're like,
Didn't they know she was coming?
they did.
And also now, don't they have an extra room now that this girl Pat's out of the picture?
You would think so.
You would think. It's already been filled. A lot of demand.
They
This place.
like there was like a bunch of other people who also arrived that night.
They're like, oh yeah, okay. Well, this girl just left, so sure.
Whoever's next in line.
Yeah.
Murder room. You get the murder room. Everybody who's ever stayed in this room has been murdered.
They're like,
Have a good night.
okay, well, I guess it's the only one available. I guess I'll just stay here.
Their solution is to have her room with another student who also lives outside of the academy.
Also got murdered.
We found a roommate. She was also murdered. However, it's only $50 a day, or $50 a month, they say. Or maybe it's $50 a week. Yeah, it's $50 a week, but she can take that out of her tuition. So they're very accommodating right away to dispel anything that's like going on about the academy, anything weird.
Okay.
Then they tell her that this is like a 3-year course and that she's going to be learning all types of stuff. They say that they don't teach girls how to dance. They just teach them how to sort of go beyond that.
They don't teach them how to dance, but they just teach them how to dance.
How to love, how to feel. They're all robots.
Yeah.
They're walking up the set of stairs to the foyer, and this is the first time that you meet, I believe it's Paolo or Pavlos. It's very hard to tell what she says, and the only way that you can watch this movie is you either buy like a foreign version DVD, because I couldn't find it on Amazon, or you watch it through like this streaming service called Tubi, Tubi.
Okay. Not sponsored by them.
Not sponsored.
Tubi's
great. Tubi.tv.
But we would accept sponsorship dollars. Just putting it out there.
And you can't have subtitles when you watch it.
Okay. So like first we have to learn Italian is what you're telling me.
I have a clip of it. We're going to play it because this is a very interesting line, because they meet this servant.
If his name is Pavlos, is it because of like the dog thing?
Like Pavlov's dog?
Yeah.
Maybe. There's also an interesting line. Okay, so hold on to that thought, because we're going to get to like another fact about him in this scene like right away.
Ooh, I love a good fact.
Hot fact. So they're going up the stairs and they see this guy, and I'll play you the clip first and then we'll talk about it, because it's very shocking that this line is in a movie and that a very serious movie, that this is not a
about
joke.
butts?
No, but just listen to this.
Okay.
This is Pavlos, our general handyman. He's really ugly, isn't he? Don't be afraid to say so. Can't understand you anyway. He speaks only Romanian.
Okay, so like,
okie doke.
And right away you can tell the acting style of this character. She says the line so quickly that there's no emotion between. He's very ugly, and then like immediately like she's like, "When are you going to speak to Hungarian?" Like it's very like, okay, you're covering something up,
Yeah,
because you're speaking so quickly.
So it's Pavlos.
It is Pavlos, yeah, because I had written down Paolo when I had first watched it, but hearing that clip now,
He's very ugly.
and this guy looks like a combination between Jake Busey,
Who I assume is related to Gary Busey.
Yeah, that's his son. So he looks like a combination between Gary/Jake Busey and John Cazale, who I know that it doesn't ring a bell right now, but he was the partner in Dog Day Afternoon who helps Al Pacino rob the bank.
Okay, yeah.
So he's a combination between those two guys. Not even a 5 head, like an 8 head.
Oh my god.
Like his hairline starts like at the back of his skull. And,
That's the best place
and
for
he just
hairline.
has like a really sloped bird-like nose.
So is this supposed to be like some kind of vaguely anti-Semitic, like this guy looks like Romanian and like creeperoni?
I don't know if it's supposed to be anti-Semitic.
Okay, well,
but like,
not anti-Semitic.
I mean, if he didn't like Hungarian people, he sure chose the ugliest Hungarian person to represent.
Is it supposed to be like a gypsy or like?
Yes, he does look very much like a gypsy. He's like he only speaks Hungarian is sort of like he's a mute.
My point in saying anti-Semitic, even if that's not like really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, whenever I hear somebody described by their nose shape, I'm like, anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
That's anti-Semitic. And second of all, because to me it's like a proxy for like othering. this person is not like me. This person is ugly. This person has like a fucked up nose
Yeah.
or whatever. And that's the same way that like a lot of the root of anti-Semitism sort of like pervades our thought.
Like that caricature
Yes.
of what
yes.
they
Caricature
claim
of
Jews to
evil.
look like. Yeah. Just in talking about this now, because like I don't get this sort of dialogue when I'm like watching the movie or
Right.
writing down the
Yeah,
facts. That like it's interesting that he's sort of a mute, because like there's like they have the blind guy
Mm-hmm.
kind of see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil kind of thing.
So who can't hear it?
I'll have to think about that
Okay.
as we go over the plot.
Is the dog deaf?
And the dog is deaf and the guy is blind. Pavlos has had all of his teeth removed and replaced.
Oh, sure.
She's like, one day they did the top row, and the other day they did the bottom row.
It's so weird that this woman like knows all about this guy's dental history.
Right? I mean, you could also
And
say
why, also?
that's also like a German thing, like stealing the teeth, like the gold fillings.
What?
Sort of. In the concentration camps, they would
Oh.
steal the gold fillings from people's teeth.
That is so messed up.
Yeah, of course it is.
I mean,
but I don't know if that's...
The whole Holocaust, not great, but especially this
Don't,
part really
don't
rubs me
endorse
the
the
wrong way.
Holocaust. That's not... We don't want sponsorships from the Holocaust. We don't want any of that.
I'm saying the Holocaust was terrible, but this thing really rubs me the wrong way. It just really bothers
But I don't know
me.
if that's sort of a something like that he is an other. He is weird and
Okay,
Hungarian.
but why would
like,
somebody have all of their teeth taken out and removed? Is this like to silence him? Is that like
that,
what
well,
that
that's what I'm
means?
thinking. Is that she says he only speaks Hungarian so that he doesn't open his mouth, but really it's because he can't really speak because he has false teeth.
Also, that's like a thing that comes up a lot in dreams. Teeth
Mm-hmm.
is like a really pervasive theme in dreams in general.
Meaning like what do they
Like
symbolize?
I have to look it up, but like various things, like either you lose all your teeth, that's like a common thing, or your teeth crumbling. It's like anxiety dreams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just means like you're anxious about something or
Well,
other.
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a very common dream theme.
So they go upstairs and they're going to go into their first class, their first dance class. Like right away, she's going to start dancing. A lot of the movements of the characters, they sort of flow like ballerinas. Like they sort of move their hands in very kind of elegant ways, and just the way that the main character walks, sort of flowy. She always wears flowy dresses.
Okay.
It's very operatic and ballet. Like as soon as they walk into like this dressing room where the girls are getting ready to dance, like this woman immediately comes up and she's like, Madam Tenor, I have to tell you something. And she like plies and just like, she's like very just like like wormy and just fluid.
Okay.
Almost like everybody's trapped underwater.
Okay.
That's sort of like how the dancers move. The staff is very robotic. Sort
Okay.
of like, the muted tones, the trunchbull look, very conservative German
Okay.
kind of. Susie's going to get changed, and she meets this girl named Olga, who is actually going to be her roommate outside of the academy. She's the
Okay.
one that she has to pay $50 to. She speaks in a very Bond girl-esque voice.
Okay.
And I'll play a clip for you because it's a very interesting kind of character.
My name is Olga, and you're my tenant.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
They tell me you have to give me $50 a week.
Yeah.
In advance.
Well, don't worry if you
Oh.
think I'm not...
Don't get hot under the collar. That's how people are here.
She's
What
like,
a weirdo.
yeah, so like you're already like, who like the character of Susie is like very down home American. You immediately identify with her because she's a stranger in a strange land, and that's the only thing that you find comfortable is that you know who she is because she's someone that you can interact with in real life.
Right,
So like
okay.
she's guiding the audience through this Alice in Wonderland type adventure.
So she plants this anxiety, and then she gaslights Susie for being like, what?
Yeah, she immediately was like,
Susie's like, hi, whatever. And then Olga's like, oh, like this weird thing, whatever. She just plants this. Let's cut this piece. 'Cause I'm like, not explaining this well,
no.
but-
I don't think we should cut this piece. I think what you're saying is that like instead of being welcoming to her, she's like, weird stuff's gonna happen, and then Susie's like, wait, what did you say? And she's like, don't worry about it. Why are you so crazy?
Yeah. So she
Like
plants an anxiety seed, and then she's like, and Susie's like questioning that, and Olga's like, you're weird for asking about this.
yeah, exactly. So
she's planting the anxiety, and then she's gaslighting her for responding to it.
right for being an outsider,
Right, okay.
Like that's like a major theme of the movie is that no matter how much she gets ingrained in this academy, she's like always this outsider. Mm-hmm. So then she sits down next to this girl named Sarah, and
So we like Sarah because she's American, clearly, or she whatever.
No,
maybe
yeah,
she's
she.
not.
I don't think they say if she's American, but she's dubbed by a person with like an American accent.
Okay.
And they're talking, and
Well, I just mean in contrast to someone named Olga, who you're like, you have these ideas about. That's not someone of this place that we're from.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's a very foreign sounding name.
Right.
So Sarah and Susie, which is like kind of gets confusing because they're both S names, but they start talking, and Olga sits down and she's like, Sarah, Susie, I've always heard that names that start with S are snakes. And then she gets into this weird thing with Sarah where she goes, tss, and then Sarah goes, eh, and then Olga goes, tss, and then Sarah goes, meh, and they just do that in front of Susie. And then the scene ends.
Cool people we got here. Cool school. Glad I came to Germany for this.
She's like, I can't believe I'm spending $50 a week. But again, Olga is her roommate. The scene ends like with the snake thing, with the tsmeh. And it immediately cuts to Olga painting her nails red, which is the same red motif that you see throughout the entire movie.
Of course.
So it's like very slathered on her nails, like blood. Mm-hmm. Like she's like really painting it on.
Well, you've seen me paint my nails before.
You just dunk it in the thing.
Pretty much what I do.
And the apartment is covered in this god-awful black and white paisley wallpaper, like every inch of it. It almost looks like it's like a hall of mirrors but it's mirrors, it's all like this paisley pattern.
Awful.
It's really weird.
That can like make you ill.
Yeah, the scene is like you're like, are we done with the scene yet? Because I don't like this wallpaper.
I'm sure it's meant to like be, discomforting.
Right, and like the rest of the movie is very solid primary colors. There's no sort of pattern to it.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's supposed to be like Olga's like this hip, cool girl that like, has like her own place. And of course it's like decorated in like this very, chic kind of style. Then they meet this guy, Mark. I wrote down a note here that his pants were way too tight in the scene.
Babe, you don't know. Maybe that's how he liked it.
Well, it's just a very odd choice because he's so tall that he looks like almost like a Ken doll in the way his pants are. Like they're flat. Like he has a torso, but his legs are just a flat 2D shape. It's a very weird perspective that they do. It's very...
I'm so like weirded out
already. It's like very like, what is this? Like a human came up with this.
You're like watching it and you're like, wait, am I on drugs? Wait, did I take something?
And that's when the drugs really kick in.
And then you're like, here we go.
Oh boy, here we go.
This morning in the shower, by the way, I was like watching my hands in the shower and I was like, I know I'm not on drugs right now, but why am I having this like weird moment? I was like having a very weird moment.
That like your hands did they have like a trail, like a ghostly trail?
No, I was like holding my hands behind the shower, so like my hand wasn't getting wet, but I also didn't have my contacts in, so it was like kind of weird. I was just having a fun time with myself.
That's why you took so long this morning.
I took a 20-minute shower today.
The Hollywood shower.
The old Hollywood shower. You know what? It's Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Mark.
He works for Madame Tanner, and he does errands in exchange for room and board.
Sounds sexual.
So he has a subservient position. He never really leaves the city, and he rarely ever leaves the conservatory itself, the academy. I keep calling it conservatory. I think it's academy.
Whatever. I hope his errands are pretty simple, because how could he get them done if he can't leave?
That's true, and he can't bend over in those pants, so he can't pick up anything off the
errands
ground.
from the waist up only, or lying down.
Could you pick that up for me? I can't. I have to lie down.
Imagine if his errands like required him to lie on the floor like a log and like roll.
I just need you to roll for me for an hour.
Can you get that thing on the floor over there for me?
He just goes.
Yeah.
Coming back now.
He announces which direction he's gonna go.
Yeah.
Coming back.
He brings Susie's bags to Olga's apartment. Then they talk about Pat's death and how they're ruling it a double murder.
And how weird it was.
How weird it was that she ran screaming and then ended up murdered.
Pretty weird if you ask me.
Well, if we can go back for a moment to the dialogue earlier in the movie where she said, "Help me, it's a murderer." She knew right away it was a murderer. Then Susie reveals that she heard Pat say two things when she left the academy. 2 words, secret and iris.
Right.
So that comes back.
Iris could mean 2 things. It could mean like your eyeball or a flower.
Oh, okay. So that's going to come into play later. So you're introduced next to the red room, which is like a practice
Always
room.
A good sign.
Right.
She's when like, you're brought into an all red room.
Come into the red room. There's a red room and a yellow room where they practice.
So I assume the yellow room is like to be a reference to like this school of filmmaking and like just heighten the anxiety.
Yeah, and there's a part later that what the character Susie does sort of matches like the color yellow.
Okay.
And we'll get into that in a second.
Like a cowardly kind of thing?
No, more in a sickly sort of thing, like jaundice.
Got it.
Type thing. So they're in the red room and they're practicing their dance, and everybody is dressed in either an all black or an all white leotard. And Madame Blanc tells Susie that her room at the school is ready, but Susie says that she would rather stay with Olga because they're sort of becoming friends.
They're sort of becoming people that may or may not be enemies. We're not sure.
After they finish dancing, after they finish practicing, Madame Tanner says, okay, everybody, let's go to the yellow room. And everybody kind of like does this like ballet dance out of the room down the hall. And Susie gets kind of stopped by Madame Blanc, where she says like, oh, the room's ready. She's like, I'm going to stay with Olga. That's fine. And she's like, oh, okay. Susie's the last one out of the room. And she kind of follows the last person who exited the room before her down the hall. And like, she only catches like a last glimpse of them before they sort of round the corner. So she's going down this long hallway, and she sees Albert, who is a kid that looks like Augustus Gloop, standing next to this heavyset old woman, and she's sitting in a doorway that's open into the hall. Like there's like a bunch of doorways on each side of the hall, and she's cleaning cutlery. There's a big stack next to her, and she's cleaning like a pie cutter, like a triangular pie cutter.
Yeah, like a pie. It's a pie server, right?
Yes, a pie, exactly that. And the flat triangular part is facing Susie, and she's cleaning it. And all of a sudden, this tremendous glare comes off the pie server and flashes her in the face. And she hears this. And she starts to get real weak, and she's like, she does like the back of her hand on her head, like she's got the vapors. So this is the first point in the movie that they give you a clue to what's going on.
What did it say? Witch?
Witch.
Good.
The woman, the heavyset woman, and Albert are just like looking at her like she's completely crazy, and she just continues down the hall. And
wait, can we just stop for a sec?
Yeah,
that's weird as hell.
Yeah, of course it is.
To be polishing silverware in the hallway of a dance academy?
Yeah, it's like the door to the kitchen, but it's set up in a way that like it's specifically supposed to be this so she could get lightheaded. So she finally gets to the yellow room to continue more lessons, her dance lessons. This is when you finally see the blind guy again. His name is Daniel. And even though she's like out of breath and like clearly gonna faint, they won't let her rest. They demand that she dance, and that Madame Tanner's like, keep it up. Come on, you're not doing it. You gotta, like she keeps like just like yelling at her. And finally, she passes out. And when she passes out, there's blood drips from her nose and the corner of her mouth, like egregiously down her face.
Sure.
Immediately, she's in bed in the conservatory, and people
in the conservatory or at Olga's house.
No, in the conservatory.
Okay.
So there's gonna be a reversal of where she lives is like right here. So she's been poisoned or something by the witch kind of sound effect. So she's in bed, and Madame Tanner and these two other people are shoving water down her mouth from a pitcher. And they're like, drink, you need to be hydrated. Drink.
Oh my God, how
and she's like, no, I can't drink anymore. I don't want this. And they introduce this character who's only in this one scene. His name is Professor Vertigast. And he's like
just like a normal name for a professor.
He looks very much like Freud, if I remember correctly. He's kind of got the horseshoe haircut and like the glasses and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
And he gives her an injection. You don't know what it is, but he gives her some sort of injection.
How terrifying. You're just like at this place, you don't know anyone, you barely speak the language. They're like, oh, why don't we just pour water down your throat and give you an injection?
Right. It's not clear like, what day this is for her, like of school, but you have to assume it's like the first week. She was strong-willed, so they try to weaken her so that they could kill her, sort of thing, like to absorb her strong energy. But they don't really play off of that too much in like a way that they're like, we need her. We have to do everything we can to keep her, and like that's what they're going towards.
Okay.
It's very kind of weird. The plot is not the movie's strongest point.
Okay.
But I do like the setup. I think the setup is awesome. Like a coven of witches in this dance academy. It's kind of an interesting place because it's very.
That's like Ryan Murphy's American Horror Story, the witch season that they're like all living together in this academy.
Oh, is that what that is? In
like,
New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Or Louisiana or something.
Yeah,
like that.
New Orleans, and there's something like both very powerful and like very sort of subversive about the idea of a lot of women living together. Mm-hmm. And I assume that's like also being played off of here.
Well, it's like these old, because the instructors are all old.
Sure.
That they have these youthful women that they feed off of in order to keep themselves alive.
I mean, that's like what witches are, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of a witch.
Yeah. Like the terror, obviously, like, you know, the witches are not good people, but just the fear of getting old.
You don't know that.
Well,
who am I to say? Maybe they are.
I mean, they do like to eat children.
Maybe they are. Maybe those children were terrible.
That's true. You think Hansel and Gretel were terrible?
Yeah.
They ate her house, right? They ate her cookie.
Pretty rude, if you ask me.
She's like, "What are you doing? You're eating. That's a structural gingerbread."
They're like, we don't care.
This Professor Verdigast,
Sure.
who sounds like Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective. He prescribes Susie that she can only have bland food, no fruit, and only red wine to drink.
Sure. Sounds very normal to me. That's actually my diet. No, it's not.
That's true. It's bland
Just a
food.
red wine part. I would never hack it at this dance academy.
The dancing part or the food part?
I mean, you've seen me dance. I'm amazing.
That's true. Madame Tanner and Madame Blanc are like, after the injection, they're like, you look better already. The color's returning. And they're trying to like get her to stay. And it turns out that her room that she's staying in is Pat's room. And they bring her stuff from Olga's apartment to the academy. And she's like, I don't want to stay here. And they're like, no, nonsense. You're going to stay here. The room is ready for you. You're just going to stay here. Don't worry about the $50. You put it back into your tuition. So they're trying to like imprison her, you know? And then it turns out that her neighbor in the academy, the rooms are shared by a shared wall with a door. And her neighbor is Sarah, who she met earlier in the movie. And in between meeting her and the bland diet kind of injection scene, there's this great shot of her sink, and it's like the water swirling down the drain, and it has this very like loud gurgling kind of sound, and you know that you're descending deeper into like the madness, but it's just like this cool like you're like, ooh, this is really like creepy for just like a regular drain.
Yeah.
Pavlos brings her the food every night, and it's I don't think you get a shot of the food, of like the meat or whatever, but he does bring her like the cup of wine. He sees a lighter that has like a clock on it, like a cigarette lighter that has a clock on it, and it belongs to Sarah. And he's like kind of obsessed with it, and they kind of set this up in the scene that he's like looking at it like very, very suspiciously. They kind of make note of it, like, oh, Pavlos really likes that trinket thing, and then, you know, they kind of dismiss him because he's ugly and he doesn't speak any English, so like they can't communicate to him. Some kind of creepy stuff starts happening, like the windows start rattling, and Sarah kind of feels like invisible hands on her. Like she turns around, she's like brushing her off, and like she's like flicking her hair, almost like you have like spider web, you know, in your hair, or like there's just something like touching you. And
they're
you're
in
like,
Sarah's room?
They're cutting between Sarah and and Susie. And Susie at this point is like brushing her hair in a mirror, and she kind of starts to feel the same thing. And
I'm
she's
so
like,
creeped out right now.
She's picking through her hair, and she pulls out a live maggot.
Oh my god.
And then she looks at the ceiling, and the entire ceiling is covered in maggots.
Oh my god.
So like it like the movie starts to like ramp up right away. You're like,
this is the part where I stand up
crafted.
and walk out of the theater.
So like she finds like maggots like in her comb.
That is the grossest thing.
And
oh my god, so sick. So is it trying to say like that they're underground, or like that they're dead already, or something like that?
Yeah, so it's like kind of a hint that there's maybe some dead bodies.
Yeah.
In the place, and that like they're sort of they're already 6 feet underground, even though they're above the ground.
Right.
They're fresh air.
Yeah.
But like just like the swirling drain takes you down.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my god, so creepy.
So it shows the scene where all the girls are in the hall because the maggots are affecting everybody. So you're like, okay, so now it's not just in her imagination. All these people are seeing these maggots, and Mark and Madame Tanner go into the attic to try to find the source of all the maggots. And they find a crate of spoiled meat that's just completely engulfed. And these are like real maggots. It's not like trickery.
Have you ever seen maggots in real life?
Yeah, they're real gross.
Because that is so gross.
And they do this great sound effect where it's like...
Ew.
They're like crawling over each other, and they do all these
like
close-ups.
This?
No, really far from that.
Oh.
Like, maggots. Madame Blanc then apologizes for the maggots.
So sorry for the
sorry
maggots,
about the
you
maggots
guys.
thing. I really did not see that coming.
You guys, so sorry about those maggots. Ooh, I do not know what happened there.
It turns out that it was food that they had ordered, they say, that had spoiled.
I mean, don't you usually put your meat in the attic?
I do. Specifically.
Yeah.
All my meats.
I mean...
As soon as I come home from the grocery store, it's into the attic with the meats.
And then you forget about it. And then you forget about it.
Yes, all my meat spoils.
That's what I always say.
Rarely
Just
eat
set
meat.
it in the attic and forget it.
Iron deficient, always. Sorry about the whole maggot thing.
So sorry about the maggots, you guys.
We're going to try get an exterminator to clear them out. But for now, we're going to move everybody into the practice hall. And we're going to set up beds in like a little dormitory. So it looks like they shot it like in a gymnasium sort of thing. But it's supposed to be one of the dance halls. And they position them in like a big circle, and then they kind of cordon off the room in a diamond shape. So like you can't see the corners of the room. It's like these big white curtains that they've hung. So they're kind of boxed into a triangle and then kind of assembled like in a circle.
Not weird at all.
No, not at all. They don't show an overhead view of what it looks like.
That seems like a missed opportunity from a filmmaking point of view.
Yeah, but I think maybe... two things. One, not feasible on the set. They just built the ceiling and just didn't have the time to like do that, or they didn't want to reveal too much because that's a very strong implication.
Yeah. Okay.
And even though you already heard the witch,
you
already have that in your mind. You don't want to be peppered with it so much.
Well,
that
I already
you're like,
figured this out from the beginning, that it's witches, right?
Wait, when did you say that?
I didn't.
Oh.
But I guess I just knew it.
Oh.
I guess I forgot to tell you that. It's witches.
Yes, it is witches. Well, I mean, like the whole part with witch, like I mean that there's no denying.
There's
like,
really no mistaking what that means.
It's like if a movie starts out and they're like zombie, and you're like, all right.
It's like the Will Smith of horror movies. Ha ha! Witch!
Witch! Big witchy style.
Oh my god, so good.
They turn off all the lights, and of course. This is a horror movie, so nothing is dark. The entire dance hall is just bathed in this red. And everything beyond, like, the diamond curtain pattern is all shadow of, like, other objects. So you can see, like, people kind of moving around. There's a bed and a figure sleeping in the bed behind the main characters, Susie and Sarah. It draws your attention right away to who is this person now? Because why are they... paying so much attention to like just a figure like behind them. So obviously like they set it up. The figure starts to make really weird noises. It starts to snore. And supposedly Sarah has heard those snores before because next to her room in Pat's room, she once had the director of the academy stay in the room next door.
How did you find all this? It says like all through exposition or what?
She's telling Susie.
Okay.
She's telling Susie.
She's like, oh, I've heard this before.
Yeah. So, well, she's like, and I'm gonna play a clip from this, but she speaks like this. She's like, I've heard this before.
Oh my god.
It's like
so
very
creepy.
because they're sleeping in a room full of other girls, and supposedly the other the vice director, Madame Blanc, and then the instructor, Madame Tanner, are supposed to be sleeping in the same room. So they're trying to be very quiet about the conversation they're about to have because it's very revealing. The snoring, she recognizes the snoring as the director of the school, but she reveals that they had been told that the director won't be home for 2 weeks because she's out of town.
She's there, right behind that sheet.
So that's how that scene ends. The camera flies past the two characters up to the sheet, so you see the shadow, the silhouette of her head, and then it plays that snore, and then it moves through the curtain and it kind of fades
creepy.
out. Yeah. This is now the next day. The heavyset woman and Albert Augustus Gloop are walking outside the conservatory, and they're approaching Daniel, who's the blind guy, his dog, who is chained up outside, and the dog is kind of like whining a little bit. He's kind of shuffling as they approach.
Like in Hereditary?
Yeah, a little bit. Like he senses something is not right about these two characters.
Oh, dogs, they're the best.
Because if one
We have a
fails, then
dog
the
and
other
a
one.
backup dog.
Yeah. Send in the backup dog.
That's, oh my God, Penny lives for that day.
Yeah. Put me in, coach. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Madame Tanner bursts into the practice hall, and she runs up to Daniel, who's playing the piano, like as they're practicing, and she says that his dog bit Albert, who's the Augustus Gloop kid, which is her, or I believe it's Madame Blanc's nephew.
Okay.
So they start arguing, and he's like, he would never hurt a fly. He's like the best dog ever. And he's like, the rotten kid must have done something to him for him to fight back. And
that's pretty extreme.
Yeah. So Madame Tanner's like, you're fired. I'm kicking you out. After that happens, we get a conversation again between Susie and Sarah. Usually these conversations take place in Susie's bed. Susie is laying down, and Sarah's like sitting on the edge of her bed, and they're talking like this. Every conversation is like this.
So creepy.
Sarah reveals that at 9:30, all the teachers leave the school.
Every night?
Every night at 9:30, the teachers leave the school.
Normal.
So, because she hears the footsteps of them all leaving. They listen to it as it happens. And Susie's kind of like floating in and out of consciousness during this conversation. And she's like, they can't be leaving. The door is to the left. The front door of the school is to the left, but they're walking to the right. And Sarah's like, oh my God, I never even thought of that before. That never even registered in my mind. So they're not leaving every night at 9:30. They're going to another part of the academy at 9:30.
Sure. Probably where the rotten meat is.
They're like, we're going to have a rotten meat party every night at 9:30. Who likes maggots?
Hope you can make it.
It goes on to
Hope
question marks.
Hope you can maggot.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Sarah has this bright idea to count the steps and then figure out where they turn so that she can try to follow them. Daniel, the blind guy, is then seen at this beer hall where they're doing like this weird German dance and they're like wearing lederhosen. Mm-hmm. He gets escorted out because he's done for the night, and he's walking with his dog in this huge plaza. So it's like, I don't know, it's like a half a mile long square, and then there's like these columned buildings bordering like three sides.
Okay.
Kind of like Museum of Natural History, the Met sort of looking buildings.
Yep.
And his dog starts to sense something. And his dog pauses. And he's like kind of sniffing the air. And then he starts barking. And then you hear that witch sound again. And then something flies overhead. Like the shadow just like flies over him and towards one of the buildings. But obviously he can't see it because he's blind. So he's like looking around trying to like listen to where it's going. And the dog gets progressively more and more agitated. And then all of a sudden it jumps up onto his neck.
The dog?
Yeah, the dog jumps onto Daniel, locks his jaws around his neck, pushes him to the ground, and kills him. And like,
oh my God.
And then the dog starts to eat the flesh. And
Is the dog a werewolf?
No, but that would be really cool. But he's like a servant.
Okay.
It turns out like...
Wait, this might ruin the plot.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Is the dog Pat's murderer?
No.
Okay. So when I was asking that question, I really thought that was really going to be the answer, but then I heard myself ask it, and I was like...
I immediately regret this decision.
I was like, that was just a joke. I was just joking when I said that.
I knew it was wrong when it came out of my mouth. So the dog starts to eat the flesh, and it's like tearing at it and like chewing on it, and then these two beat cops.
You know what I say about that?
What?
Good for him.
Oh, yeah, the dog gets his in the end. He's like, I'm hungry. I gotta eat somebody.
God damn it, good for that dog.
So the cops, these two like beat cops are like, hey, what's going on over there? And they run towards the scene. And then there's like a weird kind of comment where someone is like, two people are talking about the murders, about Pat's murder and then like her roommate, and then Daniel's murder, and like 3 murders in a week. That's crazy.
Usually it's just one.
I know. Usually it's just maggots, but now it's murder.
So sorry about the maggots, you guys.
Again, just real sorry about the maggots.
I just want to say I'm so sorry about those maggots.
Somebody makes mention of like, oh, there's a hex on this school, and someone's like, call in the exorcist. And then Sarah and Susie are in this underground pool. Not that the pool is underground, but it looks like that what would you call it? Like like a bathhouse.
Yeah.
It kind of has like this 2 stories, and it's like really dark, and you can tell that it's like in the basement of this place. So they're having this conversation as they're like swimming. Again, like the fluid motion of everybody in the movie, like they're underwater, is sort of like elevated in the scene. And Sarah reveals to Susie that she was the one in the beginning of the movie who told her through the speaker to go away. She's like, I don't know, go away, at the very beginning of the movie.
But she was talking to Pat when she was saying go away?
No, she was talking to Susie.
Got it.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
she's like, I'm Susie Bannion. I'm here to be...
Right.
I'm an American. Yeah,
I'm an American.
Because this is like post-fascist.
Right.
You know, it's like 30 years after, Mussolini, but
Yeah.
you're still living in this like post-fascist world, like where...
And then the 70s in America, it was like this bicentennial, like, like almost comically patriotic time in America.
Right. Where the rest of the world's like, we're thousands of years old. Like,
Yeah.
you're not. Who are you?
Slow your roll.
Yeah, you're 2. You're 2 years old.
You're 2.
Pat had been taking notes about the school and the teachers, writing down like certain things that she noticed, and she gave the information to Sarah.
Oh, okay.
She's like, I'm going to show them to you tonight. And Susie's like, okay. So Susie's in her bed, she's sleeping, and Sarah bursts into the room, and she's like, the papers are gone. Somebody stole the notebook that
because
Pat
the
had.
house has ears.
That's true. And it has fingers too,
Oh, boy.
the maggots. At this point, you start to think that the wine that Susie has every night is spiked.
What gives you that idea?
Because every time she finishes her food, she has a conversation with Sarah and she passes out. And Sarah has to continually like wake her up to continue the conversation. So this happens again in this scene. She's like, and Sarah's like, come on, you got to wake up. And there's kind of hints at the empty wine glass next to her bed. So you're beginning to think like, okay, so then now they're drugging her every night so that she doesn't hear what's happening at 9:30 when the teachers go deeper into the academy.
Creepiest time of the night, if you ask me.
9:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, the witching hour. 9:37. She's like, what do you know about witches? And Susie's like, all right, what's going on here? Why are you talking about that? There's this great shot where they're talking in the bed and the camera rises up off the floor and the light bulb in the room is directly in the center of the frame, and you can see the filament in the bulb, and it's sort of blocking Susie and Sarah as they're talking. They turn the lights out, and the bulb like slowly fades to black, and the room is bathed in this green, and it's like this really sickly green.
Okay.
They begin to hear voices in the hallway and like laughing, and then all of a sudden, because the Susie and Sarah's rooms are adjacent to each other, and there's a door that has a window at the top of it, so you can see the light turn on in Sarah's room, so somebody's looking for her. But Sarah is in Susie's room, and Susie passes out again from the spiked wine. So Sarah sees the light and gets freaked out. She can't go back to her room because she thinks that the witches are looking for her. So she sneaks out of Susie's room, and she goes down the stairs. Shadows following her in the hallway, so she goes to the end of the hallway, and there's like a shadow starts to come across, and she's like, shit, I can't go that way. So she turns around, and she like runs the other way. And she finally is like backed into the staircase for the attic.
Of course.
So she goes into the attic, and it cuts to this shot of a man's razor, like a straight razor, and 2 pins, like a pin with a white bulbous head.
Is it supposed to be like a voodoo thing?
So it's ritual in nature.
Okay, but
so,
like I just thought like because of the pins, you know.
Yes, there's this comes into play later.
Okay.
So the straight razor is sort of like a holy blade, like for a ceremony.
Okay.
Like a special dagger almost. She's walking by this darkened area, and you see the 2 glowing eyes from the beginning of the movie. Creepy. That you see the straight razor come out and try to get her. And she runs, and she locks herself in a room in the attic.
I mean, that's the safest place.
And the door is such that there's the lock is a lever that falls down. So like it raises on a hinge. The killer sticks the straight razor through the door and tries to lift the lock.
Okay.
Using the knife. And it's like, this is actually a very comical part of the movie because the knife isn't long enough and the angle of it isn't steep enough for him to flick it up. So he's just like jiggling it.
So you're implying that this killer is a man.
Yes. And she has enough time to stack luggage on top of itself to reach a window at the back of this attic room. So she gets into the room and she's like, okay, she's sitting on the ledge and she's gonna like jump down into the next room to escape this killer.
I'm so scared right now.
And she falls straight into a mess of razor wire, of barbed wire, and she starts struggling in it. And she's getting cut up and she's bleeding. and she's like, the more she struggles, the more she gets caught in it, and the entire floor is covered with. It's like almost like half the room is filled up with barbed wire.
Oh,
and the way it's shot is like she's like kind of like yeah, and then immediately she just like falls into it. There's like the reveal is straight away, and it's already horrific as she's like tangling in it.
Oh my god.
And there's like they do that sound effect where it's like the flapping metal. It's like
oh god. Oh.
The sound design is great in that scene. So she's struggling around. She's obviously cutting herself up, and then the door to that room that she snuck into opens. A hand grabs her head, and it's a close-up of her neck as the straight razor goes across it. And it's like, it's obviously like, fake, but it cuts through, and you see it splitting, and you see like the veins, like the skin stretch and open,
God.
and then just like blood comes out. And then that scene ends like right after that. Sarah had mentioned in a scene that we don't see that she had a friend named Frank Mandel, and he is a psychiatrist. So Susie calls him, and she's like, I can't find Sarah. You're a friend of hers in the city. I was hoping that maybe you could help me with something and, help me try to find her. So she meets him at this place, and there's like this weird sign outside the building, and it says, the 6th meeting on new studies in psychiatry and psychology. But it's outdoors. It's like an outdoor garden party. So we're sort of entering this realm where, is magic psychological? Does it have those properties? Can we use our minds to conjure more than we realize? That our brain's sort of like more powerful than we can admit to. Okay. That has those sort of powers. And then it's revealed that Frank Mandel, the man that Susie is meeting, who is Sarah's friend, was actually her psychiatrist many years ago. But they don't reveal that until that very moment. So you're sort of beginning to doubt Sarah's psychiatric health.
Okay.
Like to sort of like raise that doubt for a little bit.
I just want to interject and say, like, in terms of broader themes, this is so common to present like a woman's point of view and then like completely undermine it. Like
that we can't believe Sarah.
She's hysterical.
But
like also anytime somebody says hysterical in media, I'm like immediately like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Because of her womanness, she can't be trusted. Well, like the implication of it is like this: she's a woman, so she's feeble-minded.
Right.
And that's like the reason for witches, right? In general, it's just like women felt like they needed strength in numbers to like have any sort of power to like be their own sort of governing force because they didn't have a lot of agency in their society. There's just this sort of undercurrent of like when women gather together, they can't be trusted. That's like what the motif of witches means. Like. It's shorthand for don't trust a group of women. Sort of understand what's going on, whereas like the men in the movies maybe seem to be kind of blind to it. Because she's a woman, she can like kind of see what's happening. Because she's inherently, maybe a part of her, they're implying, is like drawn to that in a sort of really subconscious kind of way.
Like the being a witch is like is not necessarily like a creature, but it's an intuition that sort of all women have, and that she could recognize who was a witch and who wasn't.
It like lies dormant within all women, and like something awakens it to the evil side.
So like suggesting inherently that
women are evil.
Women are evil.
Yeah, that's what I'm picking up on. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Okay, so in this scene, so then I guess this connects to this next scene because the character Mandel, who is the psychiatrist, begins to tell her about this woman named Elena Marcos, who was born in 1885. And the locals in that town thought that she was a witch. And Marcos was expelled from a bunch of different countries, and she was labeled the Black Queen. Somehow she found a bunch of money. She fell backwards into money somehow, founded the academy, and in 1905, she died in a fire. He believes that witchcraft is mental, meaning it's something to do with your brain, psychological.
It's not like in the British slang way.
No, like this is going to be mental.
This is mental.
No, it's not like that at all. And there happens to be, at this garden party, there happens to be a guy named Professor Milius who studies witches.
We're introducing a whole lot of characters in the final act here.
Who'd never come up again. Because like halfway through the movie, like Dario Argento was like, oops, I need to explain the plot a little bit. This is an exposition.
Well, I'm glad he
party.
caught it. I'm glad he caught it.
Just in time.
Yeah.
So Professor Milius, who believes in witches, that they are purely negative,
Is Amelia supposed to be like a proxy for Argento?
Maybe a little bit, because he is a little bit kooky, and he does say things that align with like things that Argento has said in real life.
Interesting.
He says that the witches are purely negative and that their powers are only to harm, and that they seek great personal wealth. The head witch is the key. So now Susie has enough information. So she knows that she can track the teachers at night at 9:30 by counting their steps. She knows that the head witch is the one that is the source of all this kind of
malarkey.
Yeah, that was a real malarkey. There's like no cursing in the movie. It's like, gosh darn it, this malarkey is really making me mad. She decides not to drink the wine that night.
Good call.
And she dumps it down the drain.
I don't know why it took her this long to figure
Well, because I think she figured out that that was the only kind of constant in her diet.
She was like, maybe I shouldn't tonight.
So she pours it out, and it splashes across the sink like blood. So much so that she tries to clean it off, and it just keeps smudging in the sink.
Right.
It's like this really, because it looks like wine when she's holding it close to the camera, and the camera follows her as she splashes it in there, and it just turns into like this thick blood paste kind of stuff. So she's trying to clean it off, and she does not do a good job. She leaves a lot of it all smudgy.
Susie.
Like, if you're going to cover your tracks.
Cover your tracks, bitch. Come on, get it together.
And she finds out that at that particular moment, all the students have gone out to see the Bolshoi ballet show. This show is actually teased in the very beginning of the movie as a poster in the airport. She tries to call Frank, but the phone cuts out, and she can't get like a signal. She sees these two glowing eyes outside of the window.
Not this again.
And she opens the window, and a bat flies in and starts attacking her.
Okay.
She knocks the bat to the floor, and it's flapping on the floor towards her.
Does it have tight pants on?
No, it does not. He's like, it's me, Mark. So she throws a curtain over it, and she beats the bat to death with a stool. And then she hears the footsteps of the teachers, and she remembers, I got to count them. So she counts, she writes it down, and she's like, 30 paces here, and then you make a left, and 20 paces here, you make a right. She follows the directions on her page, and she finally enters Madame Blank's office. That's where the footstep count goes to. She's remembering what Pat said in the beginning of the movie about the secret and the irises, because she's like thinking about it, and the rain was so loud that you can't hear her. But then she remembers very clearly what she said.
The secret! I saw behind the door! 3 irises! Turn the blue one!
So on the wall of Madame Blank's office are 3 irises, a red, a yellow, and a blue.
Of flowers.
Yes, flowers.
Okay.
And it's painted on like this kind of Riviera type landscape that kind of goes around this kind of circular office. So she goes up to the blue one, and it turns out it's like a ceramic iris, and she turns it, and a door opens. So she goes through the door. She's walking down the hall very quietly, and the music is like that bum 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 with the whispers, and it's like getting very loud.
So creepy.
And she's going down the hall, and she sees like this door open just a slit, and she sees Madame Blanc sitting down. She says, I want the American girl dead. And she's given something to eat. You don't really see what it is. And then she's given wine, like a ceremony. And she asks Elena Marcos, who is the witch who founded the academy, for strength, for power. And then she says, for the American girl, she wants sickness, sickness, death, death. And Susie suddenly starts to feel like just a tiny bit ill. She's backing up away kind of from the doorway that the witches don't see her. And she's backing up, and she runs into something, and she turns around, and it's Sarah's body. Ugh. And she's impaled on a coffin, like big spikes through her wrists. And in her eyes are the 2 pins from earlier. Oh. And she's like her throat is cut, she's all bloody, and like her eyes are like wide open with the pins sticking out.
Oh my God, so creepy.
Because of this commotion, because she bumps into the coffin, and she kind of lets out like, ah! So she covers her mouth. And Pavlos, dear ugly Pavlos, comes out with the lighter that we saw earlier that he was obsessed with. It was a cigarette lighter with a clock on it that belonged to Sarah. So you realize at that point that Pavlos is the one who not only killed Pat in the beginning of the movie and her roommate with the glass, but also killed Sarah by slitting her throat in the barbed wire room.
Okay.
So he's walking...
Pavlos, no teeth.
Pavlos, no teeth, even though he's got teeth.
Okay.
He's holding the cigarette lighter, trying to like look for the commotion. So Susie slips into another room. and she hears that same breathing from when they were in the hall.
Oh my God.
And it's a bed with like a canopy. It's a white sheet.
Is it Elena Marcos?
It is. So it's the sheet.
I knew it, babe.
And she bumps into this table, and it has this really ornate glass peacock. She knocks it over, and the feathers on the peacock fall out and hit the floor, and some other kind of objects that were on the table, these circular kind of billiard balls, roll off, and they roll to the bed, and they hit the bed. And the person in the bed wakes up, which is Elena Marcos. It's revealed like later.
Sure. Were you so excited that I just guessed that, or did I ruin it?
No. This is like there's 5 minutes left in the movie when this happens. So the peacock feathers, which have like a kind of a glass heart shape on the end, have a spike that connects to the peacock statue itself. So it becomes a dagger. So she picks one up, and Susie picks it up and holds it like to protect herself. So you hear that breathing. It's like, and you just see the silhouette behind a curtain. So I'm going to play the final confrontation / the first confrontation between
first and last.
It's always good when a movie introduces like their villain right at the end and then they kill them.
Yeah, I mean,
what's great about this movie is that there is no like sort of mythology build up to this scene. Like, you're not like from the beginning, you're like, Elena Marcos. I can't wait to see what she looks like. I can't wait to see all of her powers. It's sort of like you find out in the like 10 minutes earlier that this could possibly be the director of the school, because they say that she died in 1905 in a fire. But, you know, like, it's very suspicious. So, like, there's no build up. It's not like she, you know, like in movies, they always have like the villain like kill somebody to show how powerful they are,
or like at least mention their name.
Right. So it's sort of like this, you don't know what it is until it's too late.
Right.
You know, sort of thing. Like, who's really pulling the strings, like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing. You know, like,
they're like, now that you mention it, Old Man Jenkins was seen around town with a knife and a shotgun.
Right.
I do want to say, honestly, I am so freaking scared right now.
Okay. The voice is great. I love it because it's kind of has a Italian accent to it. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Who is it? Who's there?
Oh my God.
I've been expecting you. The American girl. I knew you'd come. You want to kill me? You want to kill Elena Marcus? You wanted to kill me. You wanted to kill me. What are you going to do now, huh? Now, huh? Now death is coming for you. You wanted to kill Elena Marcus. Hell is behind that door. You're going to meet death now. The living dead.
First of all, there's some moments in that were funny.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. There's a sound effect in there that sounds like a porcelain exploding. She makes this this weird like jaguar statue explode.
Sure.
So like that's like a display of her power, and then she says, "You're gonna meet the living dead." And there's a door in the back of the room that the doorknob slowly starts to turn, and then this hand kind of flaps out like one finger at a time, kind of fans over the door, and it bursts open. And it's Sarah's body, and she's been reanimated as a zombie.
Oh God!
And she's coming at her with like a knife, but she's still got the pins in her eyes.
So creepy. Wait, I just want to say
yeah.
It was funny that she was like, "It's me, Elena Marcus."
Yeah, yeah. She's like, "After this, we're going to get the pizza pie."
And she's like, "I'm gonna murder you. I'm gonna murder you so good you don't even know how bad you're gonna be murdered. You're about to go to hell. I'm about to murder you now. I'm Elena Marcus."
It was very much like she was like a hype man.
Yeah, totally.
She was like hyping up somebody else. So Sarah has risen from the dead, and lightning flashes. Susie. This is why it's so confusing. Susie has pulled back the curtain on the bed, and there's nobody there.
But there was
But
a
she-
shadow there before, right?
There was a shadow there before, and she hears the voice.
Right.
So she pulls it back. There's nothing there because she wants to stab it with the peacock.
It's a me,
Pin.
Elena DeMarcus.
Boing, boing.
That's who I
So-
expected to be there.
She sees Sarah, the zombie, come out of the room, come out of this other room, and the lightning flashes, and then you see this glowing outline of a woman on the bed. And it happens twice. It's like kind of like in Hereditary, where they did the spirit going down the hallway, where it kind of bordered the whole hallway.
Yeah,
Sort of that effect, but like in 1977. So she sees like this outline, and so instead of stabbing Sarah, Susie turns around and stabs the outline with the peacock knife.
Okay. That was a
And-
real moment of inspiration on her part.
Yeah, like with how she knew how to do that. She just knew that the head witch was the source. So she sort of gambles on that if she just attacks the head witch, that everything's going to go away. All of a sudden, it sticks, like the knife sticks into something. And you see what Elena Marcos like really looks like. And she's like this old burned up, because she died in a fire.
Sure.
So she's all black and like crusty.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah. Sarah like fades away in this weird, like she was like a spirit ghost all along sort of thing. So she fades away. Elena Marcos dies. And then everything in the entire academy starts to explode. She goes back into the hallway where she witnessed the little ceremony where she was eating and drinking. And all the witches are like choking. And Pavlos is like, his face is all bloody and he's like dead on the floor. So Susie slowly leaves the building. She's like disoriented, and like things are like crashing down like real close to her, like unsafe, like 70s unsafe, where like they just did whatever. There was like no rules.
Oh, unsafe for the actor, you're saying?
Yes, so like plaster is like falling on top of her, and like
Oh my
things are about to
God.
crush her, and things are exploding, and like a door bursts open and she has to climb over it, and like all this stuff. And so she finally, like, she goes to like almost every room of this academy, and they're just completely destroying it. And she finally gets out of the academy, and it's raining outside, and she just starts laughing. And behind her, a window explodes, and it's the academy sets itself on fire, just like in 1905 when Elena Marcos died in a fire. So like it's hinting that this might have happened before, but the coven has found a way to resurrect her.
Okay.
And that maybe this is not over. Like maybe that this could possibly happen again. So she's laughing and laughing, and she like slicks back her hair, and she walks out of frame, and the credits play over the burning building, and the movie ends. 'Cause somebody might think this movie's cheesy, because I don't find it even like remotely disturbing or scary. I just think it's like a very well made kind of intimate horror movie where the buildup is not like jump scares, and the buildup is like sort of interesting. You're like, oh, a coven of witches like in this dance academy. That, you know, the dance is like their incantation, their ceremonies. Like I think that's kind of interesting. Like it has a little bit of a slasher feel to it. Like
Well,
in
so
terms
that's
of
like a question that I had too. If they're witches, why are they slashing?
well, because like the men are doing their bidding, because they're witches in the sense that they perform spells and they want power, but they're not necessarily bubble. Like
Yeah,
they're
okay.
not Eye of Newt. A little more blood. They're not.
Oh my God, you just Mel Brooksed it up.
Yeah.
I love it.
They're not powerful in that way. They're Mandel, the doctor says, like they sort of want financial power.
But that's never addressed in the plot.
Not really. Like they use the financial power to sort of enslave people and then kill them to take their life force in a way.
Okay.
Like they needed Susie dead so that Elena Marcos could like remain alive or young or whatever the case may be. Like her character is, Elena Marcos's character is like kicked out of every country, and she's labeled a witch.
Right.
So she's sort of like, well, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to take your young pretty things and I'm going to feed off of them, and I'm going to be powerful and sort of like respected and thought of as a powerful person, because when you're kicked out of a country, you don't feel very powerful. It's a government telling you that you're no longer welcomed in this area,
Yeah.
and like just her saying like, I do belong in a way that the way I'm going to get there is by doing these horrible things.
Okay. Well, I am both very excited to see this movie and also super, super scared still. But I'm interested.
Now, what specifically, because the point of this podcast is to explain enough of the movie to get not only sort of to remove you from the scary aspect of it. Hopefully by explaining these horror movies that you can sort of see past this general scariness and like analyze the movie like in a different way. So what about Suspiria in particular do you find interesting that makes you like, what was the point where you're like, okay, I do want to see this movie?
Well, your description is like tripping all my feminist alarm bells. And anything that has to do with witches also, like, that's the function of witches and mythology about witches, is like to tell a tale about like women shouldn't get too powerful. So that's like really super interesting to me. Also, the addition of the psychologist to sort of undermine that, like, you must be crazy if you think this could be true. Any sort of like gaslighting type things like that are supposed to be the voice of reason is like the man, the society, or whatever,
right,
running counter to like what this woman is observing with her own eyes. That's super interesting theme to me as well.
I said at the beginning when we started recording that Argento said that he believed that magic was real.
Right. But does he think that witches are real, or he just thinks magic is real?
I think he thinks that the occult is real. Like that this sort of power that we have to influence people through trickery, and like magic is not sort of limited to a book that has symbols in it. It's like a lot of different things.
It's like energy transfer.
Yeah, and it's also
and
like
power transfer.
Right, and sort of like the magic of movies in a way, like being able to trick someone into thinking this is real,
or being able to convince someone of some emotional truth that you feel,
right,
without actually explicitly saying it.
Right, sort of subliminally
putting them under a spell, you might say.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So knowing that he sort of thinks that way, just based on what we've talked about, do you feel like his point to the movie is that he truly believes in the mythos of witches, meaning like he does look at women as this thing that can be too powerful, or is he trying to tell a story about a woman who sort of supersedes that, who transcends that by defeating them? You know, like I'm trying to find out, like,
I think what he's trying to say is like, we should listen to women. This one woman was like, knew what she was observing, and she was being undermined. That's like the sense that I get without knowing anything about him or anything else he's done. Didn't we say that one of the characters that was announced in the 11th hour, not the psychiatrist?
Oh, Dr. Milius, the guy who's like...
And that's like the stand-in for Argento, right? And he's like, oh yeah, all this stuff is true.
Yeah.
This totally happened. This is super plausible. But it's interesting that we need like a male voice of authority to lend credence to that viewpoint too, right? In addition to this one character, Susie, that we're following along on her journey, and we're like observing all the same stuff that she is. So we know as much as Susie, we should be able to trust ourselves.
Do you think though that the movie, because the movie sets up men in a very particular way, that they're very subservient to the witches?
There are two kinds of men in this story. One is they're under the spell of the witches and removing credibility from the woman's viewpoint. Clearly mapped out narrative that we're now in 2018 like looking back at it.
Yeah, we're seeing it through a very specific lens. Like at the time, it doesn't sort of reek of any of that. But
I do think these ideas are like kind of subliminally just they're present. Like we're not making it up.
Right. It's not like people did not think the way that we think now.
Right.
It just was not pervasive in our culture or society or anything like that. And but we can recognize certain things.
Looking at this movie from a distance, you notice these patterns and these signifiers that you know what they all mean all together, which is why it's like tripping all my feminist wires. That I'm like, oh yeah, this is about like female power. I think it's really interesting. I look forward to watching it.
Okay, well,
but I'm scared also.
If anything, the music is the sort of the creepiest aspect of it.
Totally. The scariest parts of this were you playing those clips.
Those clips, yeah, because the dialogue, like I said, being re-recorded. It just has a very, very close to the mic kind of sound. So
also,
it's like,
watching your face when you make that sound is very scary.
We're also recording this in the dark,
the
semi-dark. Okay, so what we're going to do is sometime this week, we're going to watch Suspiria. And we'll talk about it next week when we talk about our new movie, another scary movie.
Are you going to tell me what it is, or are you not going to tell me because you're afraid I'm going to look it up?
No, I'm afraid that you're going to look it up. I am going to plug, before we go, I'm going to plug my book that I wrote, because I did write a scary book.
It's very scary. I'm too scared. The cover is very scary.
The book is called Below and is available on Kindle and paperback. And the links will be in like the descriptions, but you can go to Amazon and just search Below and Joey Rodriguez, and it'll come up because there's a lot of books called Below. You can also get it on my publishing website, which is notyourplatypus.com. That's not your platypus, like the animal.com. There you can get links to the paperback version and the Kindle version, so you can go through there. And we'll also have like social media links and all that stuff in the description. The book, real quick, is about these siblings who are brought back together. Decided to talk about Suspiria because it is a giallo book, which is like a pulpy kind of paperback. The story is set in the late 50s in Italy. And one character is an inspector, one character is a nun, and then the other character is this brother who they've lost contact with. And it's about how all of them struggle with a deal made with the devil a long time ago and how their lives are totally thrown into chaos because of it. If you're interested in a good beach summer read that's kind of scary, very gory, and kind of harkens back to those pulpy kind of stories from the 50s, pick up Below. It's only $1.99 for Kindle, and it's $11 for the paperback. And I designed the paperback to look like an old book, so it has like an old typeface.
I was just going to say, and it has a really cool cover if you're reading it on the beach.
People will be like, ooh, what is that?
Yeah.
So and it even has like old books used to have like these pages that you could cut out and send a coupon in to get other books. So I like recreated that, and it's just like meant to look like an old paperback. So
You're the coolest.
No, I'm not.
You are. You're the coolest guy I know.
How do we want to sign off? We got to come up with like a sign off.
Oh my God. I feel really unprepared.
Maybe we should just end it. Like, now.
Now.